Hello class, I'm Bob Schieffer, and I'm here with two my esteemed colleagues. This is Con Mather and Benjamin Franklin.
Bob,
Hello,
I want to thank the Lord for letting me be here today.
Yes, thank the Lord, certainly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schieffer.
Yes, no problem. And I'd also like to thank our sponsors for funding the resources that brought my two friends here today. All right, and we're going to move on to our first question, which is Audi or BMW? And we're going to start with Mr. Franklin.
Well, it's a good question. You got really phenomenal German engineering, across the board there. Personally, with my own experience, I'm gonna have to defer to Audi on this one. More reliable engines, they've got really advanced all-wheel drive systems come standard on every car. So, just from a practical standpoint, as far as bang for your buck, I got to go with Audi.
All right, thanks so much. And no, Mr. Mather.
Well, my personal preferences for neither BMWs, Mercedes, or Audis, or indeed any foreign cars. For the best cars in the world are made right here in the good old US of A. That's why I'm a Ford man. As you might have heard the saying, Jesus was a Ford man. He walked everywhere.
I like your answer to that question. Thank you. All right, and on to the second question. It's a bit deeper, but I'm sure you will be able to answer it. It is, what is the meaning of life? And we're going to start with you, Mr. Mather.
Well, Mr. Schieffer, I find the meaning of life is just simply to carry out God's work. Whatever that may be, every day I just try and do what the Lord wants me to do. If He wants me to have a flat tire, well, then that is His will. Who knows, I might be saved from a car wreck in the near future because of that flat tire. The Lord works in mysterious ways. It's best to defer to Him on every issue.
All right, so punishment is God's love. Good.
Indeed.
Mr. Franklin.
I would say that the meaning of life for an individual would be for that individual to decide what's most meaningful to them, most pertinent to them as a person, and obviously, within the bounds of the Constitution, not infringing on anyone else's personal rights and freedoms. But I think that the meaning of life is for someone to decide what's most meaningful to them and to pursue that as deliberately as they can, set themselves an agenda, and just get things done, do the best they can, and achieve fulfillment in that way.
Good. So be practical.
Be practical.
Thank you. On to the fourth question. This question is on Rip Van Winkle and what your views on his attitudes towards life is.
Rip Van Winkle?
Yes.
That's
Mr. Franklin, please.
The fella who slept through the American Revolution, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Rip Van Winkle, what do I think about him? Well, let me tell you, wake up, Rip! Seriously, you guys never heard of an alarm clock? This guy's sleeping through the American Revolution. What is this? He calls himself an American. Grab a musket, Rip! Fight with your brothers! That's what I'd say. Do something besides sleep under a tree for a couple years. Ridiculous, ridiculous. I've done my part for this country. You see me on the $100 bill? I made it in this country. Why can't you do it?
All right, thank you very much.
I'm
Mr.
unimpressed.
Franklin. Thank you very much. We're going to need to cut you off there.
This is not satisfactory, America.
Mr. Mather, please.
Well, I must agree with Mr. Franklin on most of those issues. He is clearly not carrying out the Lord's work. The Lord does not want you to sleep all damn day. Just drinking the devil's juice like that, it's disgraceful.
All right.
Absolutely disgraceful. And Washington Irving should be ashamed of himself for publishing such blasphemous literature.
It's a disgrace, a blasphemy.
All right, so the next question is on Edgar Allan Poe. Just your thoughts on him as a writer and his works. We'll start with you, Mr. Mather.
Well, I have to say that I am repulsed by most of Mr. Poe's writing, in particular The Cast of Amontillado and Telltale Heart, two of the most recent works I studied of his. And I just find writing about the subject of the devil and demonic possession just disturbing. I think people should not have to read things like that. I'm sure Mr. Franklin can agree with me that Mr. Poe is clearly a disturbed individual if he can write about such depraved killers.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Franklin.
Well, I would agree in saying that I think Poe takes much the wrong tone about things, and with regards to the Cask and Telltale Heart specifically, you just got these two guys who are just all up on their own high horses of self-righteousness, and it's not at all warranted. So you got that problem, not to mention, obviously, they're infringing on these other people's God-given, country-given rights. to freedom, to life, to pursuit of happiness, and that's just not there. There's no productivity in that. Absolutely, it's absolutely
The
counterproductive.
next question is one that we've asked ourselves throughout the semester. It is, what is an American? And I'd like you to answer it first, Mr. Franklin.
An American. In America, an American can walk around with loaves of bread under his armpits and just look ridiculous crossing the street, and still make the beast with two backs that very same night. That's yeah. Actually, that might have just been Philadelphia. A good American is on the $100 bill.
All right, good. Thank you. Now, Mr. Manley.
Well, I would have to say that an American is one who understands the vision John Winthrop had for this country. The city upon a hill. We are to be a new Garden of Eden and rid ourselves from the tyrannical overrule of our European overlord.
The next question is, what is your biggest fear? And I guess we'll start with Mr. Franklin.
My biggest fear, I'd have to say water that you can't see the bottom of. That just gets me.
All right, that is scary. Mr. Mather?
Well, Mr. Sheifa, my fears are cats, witches, foreign folk, strange folk, people who don't think like me, werewolves, snakes, regular wolves, bats, engines in the day, engines at night, the devil, the devil's minions, not being around God, separation from God, and a general fear of almost everything.
And on to the last question, which is, what is a productive day for you? And we'll start with you, Mr. Mather.
Any productive day for me is any day I can get close to the Lord. So Sundays are my most productive days. I can just go spend 6 hours in church, preach a great sermon, convince everyone of God's message.
All right, thank you. And now, Mr. Franklin?
Well, for me, it would depend on the day. You see, I've got a very specific agenda laid out for myself for each individual day, and so conforming exactly to that agenda, getting everything that I want to get done, that would be penultimate productivity for me.
And on to closing remarks. I'd like to thank you very much on the long journey it took you to come here from the past. Thank you.
Thank
you,
you,
Mr.
Mr.
Mather.
Sheifa.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin.
Thank
I
you
hope you
much
enjoyed
for having
our...
us. Absolutely,
chips,
yes. Thank
and
you
yes.
for all the free Doritos.
I'd like to thank our sponsors as well.
I would like to say thank you very much to Doritos and Mountain Dew. I'm going to enjoy this refreshing glass of Mountain Dew right now.
Yeah.
Do the dew, everyone.
You know, they say that you learn something new every day, and today I was enlightened on nacho cheese.
Good. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this session.